Every day, the news that we see and hear is quite troubling. Most recently, been watching the events in Egypt and the Pharaoh there, Pharaoh Mubarak. They don't call him Pharaoh, but that's the way he acted. He's not really sure what he's going to do. Seems like his hands are tied. And it's interesting, this time, Pharaoh's not concerned about the Israelites. He's concerned about his own Egyptians. And what they're going to try to do and what's going on there. There's trouble in our schools. You see, when you kick God out of school, you let the devil in. And if you shut God out of your life, you open wide the door for Satan to come in. So for those who say, oh, I don't believe in God, I don't want to have nothing to do with God, you make yourself right picking for Satan. So you don't want to have nothing to do with God. Yes, sir. But you're going to have everything to do with the devil. We used to be a nation where God was welcomed in the classroom, but not anymore. Most public schools have banned prayer at graduation. Teachers are not allowed to put their Bibles on their desk lest a student come by and ask what it is. And they begin to talk to them about the Bible. So they can't put their Bibles on their desk. And the idea is we don't want to offend anybody.
All right.
I guess got to be that thing called politically correct. Well, in an effort not to offend anyone, we ended up offending the main one.
All right.
The righteous one. The holy one.
Yes.
The awesome one. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, I'd much rather offend man than I would God. If I'm going to offend somebody, I'd rather offend man than offend God. And that's why when I was in Africa a couple of years ago, I told you about, I was just so amazed that in the public schools, they invited us to come and preach. We have guest ministers today from America. And they held a special assembly.
All right.
So we can tell them about the love of God.
Hallelujah. Yes.
Did you know that God is offended when we don't put Him first?
All right. Say it, sir.
In the very first commandment to His people, God said, I am the Lord your God, and you shall have no other gods before me.
Yes, sir.
But so often today, we're just as guilty as the ancient Israelites were because we put other things before God. We might not bow down to a golden image. We might not have an idol in our home. And yet, we are still guilty of the sin, what is called idolatry, when we put other things before God. What about our own selfish desires?
Come on,
Yes, sir.
See, we put those before God, right? Our own selfish desire. And that's why, when you struggle and you don't give to God what's rightfully His, especially when it comes to the tithe, when you don't do that, what happens is you give in to your own selfish desires.
Yes.
We do what we do, and then when troubles come, where do we turn?
Right.
Folks, listen, the church should not be just a place that you come to when you're in trouble.
All right. That's right. Say it, sir.
Now, it's a good place to come to in time of trouble. Don't get me
Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
But it should not just be a place you come to when you're in trouble.
That's right.
You should desire to be in God's house as often as you possibly can. I like it when folks beat me here.
All right.
Sunday morning, before Sunday school.
Yes.
I like coming here and folk already here. I think that's a good thing. That's a wonderful thing. Troubles come when we least expect them, don't they?
Yes.
When we were first introduced to Job, just back here in chapter 1, we're told about the peace and tranquility that Job had, as well as his immense wealth. Job was a God-fearing man. And yet, trouble came knocking on his door.
Yes, sir.
And not only did trouble come knocking on his door, trouble knocked the door down.
So now,
Tore the door off the
all
hinges.
right.
In a short amount of time, Job lost his family, his health,
Yes.
and his wealth. Now, losing one of those would be bad enough. But can you imagine losing all three?
Well,
Back to back to back?
yes.
It's hard for me to grasp just how devastated Job must have been.
Yes.
I remember sharing with you some time ago a devotion from the Daily Bread. And there are many of you here today who didn't hear me share that, so I brought it with me and I'm going to share it again.
All right, sir.
It's from one of the writers of the Daily Bread, that tremendous devotional resource. How many of y'all use that? How many of y'all use that? I see quite a few hands. I see quite a few hands that don't. Maybe you have something else. That's it.
Amen.
There's something else that you use. No, I don't. You need something. You need a tool, a devotional tool to help you to take time to spend time with God. And that's what the Daily Bread does. There may be some back there on the wall or on the table back there, but we give them out very faithfully because we just believe they're a good tool to have. And so this one particular devotion was titled Unexpected Grief. And here's what the writer of that article said. Here's what he said. He said, since 1988, I've enjoyed writing several Our Daily Bread articles each month. I've felt blessed to dig into the scriptures, observe life, and to provide spiritual help in this publication. But on June 6, 2002, I found myself unable to offer help. On the last day of her junior year of high school, our 17-year-old daughter, Melissa, was killed in a car accident. Last day of her junior year in high school. In one horrible instant, everything we knew about God and about the Bible and heaven was put to the test. We needed the Christian community to guide us toward hope as we stood at the funeral of a beloved young woman who had touched so many lives with her smile, her godliness, her love of life, her care for others. For many weeks, I couldn't write. What could I say? How could I find words to help others when my family, when I needed so much? Now, months later, as I begin to write